Hey guys, it's Rodimus Primal. I am back with another video, and today I'm bringing you guys my Transformers Cyberverse Season 1 review. And I got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon. With your support, you can help us bring you more content like this. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I'm doing a full season review as opposed to my reviews on individual episodes. And I was able to review the first 5 episodes spread across 3 videos without any issues. And then I went to review episodes 6 through 10 over the course of 3 videos as well, but those 3 got copyright claimed and they had to get taken down. Well, this time I'm going to give you guys my nerdy breakdown for the whole season. And I'm going to be diving into spoiler territory, of course. And just to play it safe, it's just going to be me talking to the camera. Now, for those who don't know, Transformers Cyberverse is the most recent Transformers cartoon, and it's animated by Boulder Media, a small animation studio based in Ireland, and it's actually owned by Hasbro. The show is computer animated and then is cel-shaded. To be honest, it looks okay, but sometimes the world looks very flat and unappealing. The battle sequences also leave a little bit to be desired. Overall, I think the animation isn't bad, but there's a lot of room for improvement. The story is set in a new Transformers continuity that clearly draws a lot of elements from G1, IDW comics, Prime, and the live-action films. Most of the writers are Transformers fans from various generations, and it really shows with the amount of Easter eggs that are thrown in, things like Rack and Ruin and Drift. It tells the tale of Bumblebee, who is wandering out while he lost his memories, but his friend Windblade has to enter his mind to help him restore what he lost. We eventually learn that they are aboard the Ark, which crash-landed on Earth, and the Decepticons are hot on their trail. The characters themselves are interesting, to say the least, and I really enjoyed this version of Windblade. She's confident, she's optimistic, and she's a great companion to Bumblebee. Initially, I'll admit it, I shipped the two of them, but as the show moved on, you can see they were more just like a brother and a sister. As for Bumblebee himself, I began to like him more as the season progressed. I really don't like the fact that, once again, he's without his voice box. This is one of the worst elements carried over from the live-action film, and I can't help but look at the similarities between the new Bumblebee movie and this cartoon. You clearly have a talented voice actor in Jeremy Levy, and voicing Bumblebee, in my eyes, he's limited by the fact that he can't talk in the present. To get around this, at least he can talk in his mind and during flashback sequences. Seriously, guys, you gotta get this darn thing fixed in Season 2. Just make a whole storyline out of it, have Ratchet fix it, and it would be great. You also meet Teletran X, who is a memory unit ejected from the Ark so that Teletran 1 can reactivate once the ship is relocated after its crash. He continually calls Windblade not crew, since she wasn't aboard the Ark, and I found that pretty funny. He reminds me of GLaDOS from Portal, just without the fact that the Portal character is trying to kill the player. Teletran X helps the Autobots find Grimlock, who was buried in his dino mode 65 million years ago. Now this King of the Dinosaurs does have an interesting reimagining of his character. In dino mode, he behaves very much like his dim-witted self seen in the G1 cartoon, but in robot mode, he's super intelligent. He also likes to tell old stories, okay? Now, this kind of bugged me. While I don't mind giving him some brains like his G1 Marvel Comics self, having him constantly tell old stories was something that Kup used to do, and I hope to see Kup in the future in the show. At first, he's only seen in flashbacks, but Optimus Prime is the hero that, through the eyes of Bumblebee, looks up to. As for his design, I like everything but his stupid mouth. I hate Optimus with a mouth. I haven't liked it since the live-action films. I don't like it in any series that it appears in. And I prefer that mouth plate that goes up and down when he talks, and instead he has that retractable faceplate, and he rarely uses it in battle. I mean, if you're gonna do the whole faceplate thing and have him use it when he's gonna be in battle, have that faceplate go up all the time. But I would prefer the faceplate, and Grimlock too. The first time you finally see Grimlock with his faceplate is right at the end of the show, and Wheeljack should have his faceplate up as well, and he should be having the blinking ears coming out of the sides, and he doesn't. But again, Optimus should just, have the face plate up all the time. That's just, how Optimus Prime in my eyes is supposed to look. Oh, and one of the many things I can't get used to in this show is the voice of Optimus. I know Jake Tillman was known for impersonating him, which probably got him the role, but for Primus' sake, please just pronounce Teletran 1 right. It's not Teletron 1, it's Teletran 1. In Beast Wars, even Rat Trap corrected Black Arachnia. It's supposed to be even, and Teletran X even pronounces it right, and all the other characters pronounce it right. Why can't Optimus pronounce it right? And his backstory is a combination of his IDW self, where he's a file clerk, but he receives the Matrix of Leadership from Alpha Trion, where he held onto it for many years until a new leader arose, just like in G1. But they chose to have Optimus once be friends with Megatron before the war, which in my eyes, it just doesn't do it for me. I really love the backstory from the G1 episode War Dawn. And for the sheer reason that Megatron himself killed Orion Pax, and then he was rebuilt by Alpha Trion into Optimus Prime. And this was a strong motivation for the character, and you want to see Optimus succeed. Instead, honestly, I feel like this version of Optimus was spend every moment against Megatron trying to convince him to become good. And, villains are supposed to stay villains. And Megatron should always be that villain, and I've never liked the idea of him switching sides, ever. Speaking of Decepticons, the main villains of this show are a group of Seekers led by Slipstream. And I'll say I like her as a villain. I don't care for her subordinates, though. They seem like pale imitations of the G1 characters are supposed to represent, especially Thundercracker, and his voice just does not fit the character at all. And I'm expecting Thundercracker, when he's flying, to be making thunder noises, and he's not. And he's also missing his buddy Skywarp. Maybe we'll see Skywarp in Season 2 alongside Megatron, since Skywarp is one of Megatron's most loyal Decepticons, and that would be pretty cool, and to see that teleport ability. And also Thrust, this version of Thrust does not have his trademark VTOL wings, which I'm guessing that's going to be something that's going to show up maybe in Season 2, because that's what Randolph Hurd said. And the same thing with his cone head, since his head design is that standard Seeker head design. Now, the character that a lot of people are talking about is Acid Storm, and the reason why is because she switches her animation model between the male animation model for a Seeker and the female animation model, and really, you can't look too much at it, other than the fact that, the voice actress herself is, is female, so Acid Storm in my eyes is a female, but according to Maycat, switching her animation model is something that she just likes to do. Oh well. Now, it turns out Starscream is in the show, but not by much. When we do see him, he's more like a bully than an evil air commander who's trying to usurp Megatron. And speaking of Megatron, I really hope that he comes to Earth commanding Decepticons like a boss. We've only seen him in flashbacks, and I hope Season 2 brings him in his full G1 glorious self. Eventually, Shockwave, comes to Earth, and with a plan to wipe out all life on Earth and to help Starscream bring the Decepticon battle fleet to attack the Ark. He's menacing, he's cold, he's logical, he's very much like his G1 Marvel Comics self. But he does show some emotion, using that part of his head that kind of goes up and down like an eyebrow. It's kind of weird. And it's kind of weird because his alt mode is a spider tank, and this, along with those little mini drones, yeah, you can really see the Tarantulas correlation between the two characters. Now, because the animation is expensive to make and the show is limited in its budget, it only gave us 18 total 11-minute episodes. This has been one of my biggest complaints of the show. The world of the Transformers is huge, and there are a lot of stories to tell. Well, and because this show is a fresh start in a new continuity, there's a Vanguard-class ship full of information to get across that in a very, very short amount of time. The first 3 episodes are clearly made to be like one story that sets up the world for the show, that the showrunners themselves are trying to create. And then the show moves into individual episodes, and then, of course, the last 3 are again one story that caps off the season. Personally, I've asked the writers on Twitter about this, and what they revealed to me was that they do write each episode as if they are the standard 23 minutes in length, but they have to trim them down to their basic components. This is very similar to the final US G1 episode, The Rebirth, which originally was written as a 5-parter, but it was cut down to 3. And as a result, the stories have to be short and sweet. Sometimes this really works on some episodes like The Journey or Shadow Striker, but other episodes, they end way too abruptly. And what's worse is that the next episode is always like an unspecified amount of time that takes place after, with not a lot of connection to the previous episode other than it takes place afterward. And the best example I can make out of this is what happens at the end of Terminal Velocity, in which, of course, spoiler warning here, Blur dies. And right afterward, Bumblebee exclaims, "I'm glad that's over with." And then the episode just ends. And then the next episode, Shadow Striker, begins with Bumblebee and Windblade sparring on the Decepticon cruiser they stole, with no acknowledgement of the fact that Blur died. It's kind of jarring. Now, I know this was emotional for a lot of people, especially for fans of the character. It was certainly the case for the episode's writer, Gavin Hydnight. I'm probably mispronouncing that right or wrong, I'm sorry. But since the showrunner, Randolph Hurd, made the executive decision to shock us with his death, I personally think that the episode's ending was Gavin's way of coping with one of his favorite characters' deaths. But I have two really interesting theories out of this. The first one is that this version of Blur is more like his IDW counterpart. This is not the same Blur as the fast-talking speedster we know from G1. Also, Bumblebee's memories, they were messed up a little bit by Shockwave. So the speedster from Velocitron could possibly still be alive because maybe his death really didn't happen. If anything, this also might explain some of the oddball continuity errors in the show, which would take me a whole separate video to go into detail about, but they're there. And don't get me started on a scientific aspect of Pangea and having the Ark crash 65 million years ago instead of 4 million years ago. You know, I honestly feel that the only reason why they changed it from 4 million to 65 million is so that they can try to explain Grimlock's dino mode. Now, the episode Sabotage is where the show starts to get its momentum leading into the show's conclusion. The season ends with the Autobots aboard the Ark, prepared to face Shockwave and the Decepticon fleet. And yes, it is a cliffhanger, but we know that season 2 is coming soon. So, to be honest, the overall story of the season felt like it was just to be a foundation of what this Transformers show is going to eventually be. And, you know, that's not a bad thing. Overall, I enjoyed Cyberverse. The animation's okay. The episode runtime is too short, but I felt it's a decent show, and I'm eager to see where season 2 goes. My daughter, she absolutely loves it, and that gives me a great excuse to watch Transformers with her, and it really does put a smile on my face. I will raise her right, of course, because she does like to watch G1 as well, and she gets to play with my Transformers toys, so it is a fun time with my kids. But some might not care for this show, and that's okay because there's certainly a lot of room for improvement. But I think you have to give the show a chance. You might be pleasantly surprised if you watch it all the way through. But I want to know what you guys think. What did you think of Transformers Cyberverse? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was the best show on the planet? Did you think it was just okay? Or did you think it was terrible? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video, of course, thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. You can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I have a lot more Transformers content coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.